Hey, good morning, guys. It's great to see all you this morning. Welcome to the Sunday gathering. Just absolutely great to have each and every one of you. So glad to see you guys saying your hellos in the chat. And I'm really excited about today. I don't know, not anything specific, just excited to be with all you guys. I've got a few of your topics already. Jackie Blue, you say you were just watching a video about the 12 jewels that make the New Jerusalem and how they give out beautiful colors, etc. All right, great. Miss Pam Crane, I got your topic early on, but if you have a chance, can you maybe put, if there's any Bible reference to that, I wanted to make sure that I understood where in the scriptures you were talking about for your topic. So just to call everybody out, I just want to say good morning to everybody. Pam Crane, Rafa Sieber, good morning, the Red Raven, God is Kind, West Wind, Karen McDougall, Annie O, Ben Pat, good to see all you guys. Miss Linda Connor, Terry Barnes. I think I said Jackie Blue, yeah. And Miss Stacia Logue, it's great to have you this morning. Just so you guys are aware, we've been praying for Stacia this week. Her family's going through some tough stuff, really tough, and just wanted to mention that. When we get to our prayer time, I'll mention it again. I want you guys to pray for her. West Wind, good morning. Judy Berry. Rick Bowser, it's great to have you, sir. And let's see, Julia Thomas. Sherry Fennell. Lisa, it's great to have you this morning, afternoon. I hope you're having a good day today. All right. Ed Mack, good to have you. Raina Waddell. All right, I think we've about got everybody. Silencio, good morning. All right. Camille Harris, all right, good morning to you. CCAC, and I think I may have mentioned Gay Marie Beasley, but good morning to you. Good morning, Pukwudgie. Yeah, it's been a week already. They go quick, don't they? Christina Hollis, I see your topic. Can I explain why the full preterists believe this is the new heaven and earth, and when that's not really our experience in this life? Yeah, that's a good one, Christina. I'll put that on the list. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. For anyone who's new, just be aware right now we're taking topics. We always start with that. So if you have a topic in mind and you're new, I do usually prioritize new people. So if you have a topic and you're new, mention it in the chat, and we'll make it a part of the discussion today. That's what we do each time. I take your topics and we put them and do them best we can. Good morning, KK Moon. It's good to have you. And Joe Carr, good to have both of you. Adriano, good to have you. All right. So Pam Crane, you mentioned, to clarify, the story of the giant grapes from the promised land in Numbers 13. Okay, that's perfect. That's exactly what I needed. And that's funny because that's where I was reading. That's where I was reading just a minute ago when you mentioned it. Let me see here. Yeah. Okay. I may be able to. I may just do the best I can with that one, Pam. I'm not sure, but we'll take a look. Try to dig in a little bit. Puck, would you ask about why Esau was hated while Jacob was loved? And there's been a couple that have mentioned that, so sounds like we're going to talk about that today. Yeah, God is Kind mentioned that as well. Yeah, so that's on the list. All right. Deborah Hicks. You say, question, how do you think Satan gathers the nations to surround the camp of the saints? Who are the saints? Yeah, I don't, Deborah Hicks, that's a tough one. I'll put it on the list. That's a really tough question. I'm not sure anyone really knows the answer to that question. Well, we'll talk about it. I don't talk about it prematurely. Jimmy Davidson, good morning to you. You say, what are my thoughts on Enoch chapter 44, the belief the predators feel the new heaven and new earth is symbolic? You mean the full preterists? Okay. Yeah, I'll tackle that too, Jimmy, best I can. Yeah, we got a lot of topics now. You guys that get on early and put topics in, you fill the queue too quick. It's fine. It's fine. All right, let's see. Flat Bob, good morning to you. If you have a question, Flat Bob, go ahead and ask it. It's good to have you. As you say, it's your first live. Awesome. Well, I'm really happy to have you. Yeah, if you've got a question, Flat Bob, mention it, and I'll try to get it in here. Okay. Kelsey asks, what does flight mean in Matthew 24 in the Olivet Discourse? So we can probably add that, Kelsey. Oh, now the questions are coming out. Okay, I see how it is, guys. Now you're flooding me here. All right. Adriano, you ask, every knee will bow and God will be all in all with respect to universal reconciliation. Okay. Wow, these are all good questions, guys. It's going to be really hard to trim this down and keep it manageable. I will do my best. I'm gonna have to learn to go a little quicker on some things. I have to do that to get through all this. Okay, and then Flat Bob, you did ask your question. Why does God say that he will not something, I can't read that, the father for the sins of the children, and the children of the sins of the father? So why did God kill David's child when he got with Bathsheba? Okay. All right. Yeah, I got you, Flat Bob. No problem. Yeah, we can talk about that. All right. Okay, we're getting close now. I think some of these are going to be tough. Christian, I see yours. And I'm probably just going to have to put it in my notes for looking into or next time, possibly. Okay, I'm sorry about that. We're at the point now where there's so many. All right. Ed Mack, you ask about the keys given to Peter. Yeah, that's been asked before, I think, now that I'm thinking about it. Let me see if I can get that on the list. Okay, let's see. Squiffy Bear, good morning to you. All right. Tanda 1206, good to see you. Tanda, you said you liked Joel's point of view. Okay. I'm trying to think back to what he taught on the first day. I've got it in my notes over there, but I don't think I'll dig into it. Jackie Blue, that's a good take on the David and his son issue. All right. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and get started with some announcements because we got enough topics now for sure. So just for everyone's awareness, everybody's welcome here. You're welcome in the chat. You're welcome on these live streams. I do this every Sunday as best I can, as my time allows. And as you've been seeing in the chat, we take topics each week live. I don't have any preparation other than possibly, hopefully, the study and experience I've had before this. So we do our best to answer the questions, to go into the scriptures together, to talk about it in the chat, and do all of that. I just ask that we stay civil with each other in the chat, that you don't spam the chat with lots of comments at once. I'm pretty tolerant, but if it gets past reasonable threshold, I will either mute or ban you. So let's keep it civil, and it should be just fine. Now, just to make everybody aware of what I do, let's see, share this screen. I have this website, and it's, of course, at the top left of the screen, bible-scribe.com. The website is where I have everything linked, so you can get to my YouTube channel, of course, where you're probably listening now. Some of you, we've got a good number that listen on Rumble, but I'm also on Facebook, Spotify, Truth, X, and Telegram as Bible Scribe. So I want to mention that, make sure you're aware. You can connect up with me if you want to in those places. On Facebook, we have a particularly special thing going on where we have a Bible Scribe prayer channel. So on that prayer channel, we just pray. It's only for prayer requests. So it gives us all a chance to connect and pray for each other during the week. And we do that throughout the week. We've been praying a lot this week for certain prayer requests. And I just want you to know that's available if you're interested in praying. And that's all that's for. We don't go in there and discuss things in the prayer group. That's only about praying for each other. So if you're interested in that, you can request access to that, and I'll grant you access if it looks like a legitimate request. And then you can pray with us throughout the week. Then also, as is linked on the homepage of my website and at the top in the menu, it says app. There's the Bible Scribe app. Now this is what you'll see me using during the live stream today. It has ancient writings in it from the Bible, of course starting with the Bible, to the Apocrypha, early Jewish writings, late Jewish writings, and early Christian writings. And you can search across them all. Some of them are cross-referenced. I'm still working, of course, on that. It's a large body of work to cross-reference all those materials. But if you go there for now, it is in a beta period, so you can sign up. When you register or sign up there, you can get access to all of the writings that I'm showing on the screen. It's about, 50 or so writings at least. And that could help you, I hope, in your study as well, your research. But I use this every week because it's, to me, so valuable. It puts things in front of me that I can't find any other way. So just I made that tool, and it's become very valuable to me, and I hope it's valuable to you guys. So other than that, I'm also on other platforms as SciCry. I have a different identity, and the SciCry channels are more conspiratorial channels with different types of things that usually you can't get on YouTube. So that persona is on Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, Telegram, Truth, and X, and all those places you can follow or connect up with me in that way. And just of course, a different little focus or perspective there. So just be aware that's there. It's available. Let's see what else. I think that's about it for announcements. The other things I would say, just know that you can contact me anytime. On my website, there's this link to the top right, contact, and it simply just shows my email address, which is biblescribe@proton.me. So you can easily email me anytime, and I'll try to do my best to respond. So just remember, you can contact me in that way directly. It's the easiest way to get in touch with me, and I do try to stay on top of my emails as best I can. Okay, and then what have I been working on this week? So what have I been working on this week? A lot. So I have a kind of a grouping of videos that I'm working on all at the same time, and it's because of some sources that I found some really excellent material in, and I'm combing those sources, and of course that's causing me to go back to original sources that I've already studied and just pull together information. And the topics that I'm pulling together for those things are these: the Great White Throne Judgment. That's probably going to be one of the earliest videos you're going to see from this body of research. So very soon, within a week or two, the Great White Throne Judgment video is going to come out. The next one is the day of the Lord. Now that's a tougher one, and it's gotten real deep, but it's going to be eye-opening. And I'll just say this, like, some of this material, by the way, is challenging me, and it's challenging my viewpoints, okay? So that's part of why it's taking a lot of time to get through it, is because I'm really vetting everything. I really want to get as close to correct as I can before I start sharing everything with you guys. But I'll just be honest, it's totally challenging my viewpoints. I mean, not in a fundamental way, but I mean, it's changing and shaping a little bit of my views as I'm going. Then the next topic that is kind of like, these next two are together a little bit, but the eschatology of the early church is one that I'm putting together. And then also a really kind of total treatise on partial preterism. I think if I had to tell you guys kind of what's happening with my viewpoint, it's that I am finding that as I study these different topics across history and these different writings, what it's doing is it's kind of cauterizing me into a very into alignment with partial preterism specifically. In the past, I've been very hesitant to take the moniker of partial preterism. And to be honest, partial preterism, it seems like there's some variance within the community of partial preterists as to what they believe, particularly about certain things. But in an overall sense, I think what is happening for me is I study these things: the Great White Throne Judgment, the Day of the Lord. Two I didn't mention: the Mount of Olives, and one I'm calling the Clay in the Valley. There's a video that I'll do called the Clay in the Valley, and it's anyway, these are deep subjects, but they expose and open up a lot of the things in the Bible that are misunderstood by both, dispensationalists, Protestants in general, premillennialists, and on the other side, full preterists. I also have a video I am preparing for called Full Preterism's Biggest Problems. One thing I watched this week that really it was a reminder was I watched again, or listened to rather, the interview with Sam Frost over why he left full preterism and became a partial preterist. It was because he found in full preterism some things he could not reconcile. And Sam Frost is a well-seasoned, studied teacher of the scriptures. I don't even know his credentials, but that's something that you need to look at if you're thinking about full preterism. You probably need to listen to Sam Frost, Why I Left Full Preterism, online, because it talks about exactly the things he could not reconcile with full preterism that didn't make sense. And then one of the things he says is exactly what I say, is that full preterism causes you to leave all of church orthodoxy. All of the history of the church is contrary. All of it is contrary to full preterism. Take it for what it's worth, but I would suggest if you're toying with looking at full preterism, if you're kind of like you don't know for sure, go listen to Sam Frost's Why I Left Full Preterism. It's really good. So anyway, the next two that are coming out are really the Great White Throne Judgment, and then the other thing I've been studying for the past 48 hours, almost solid, is World War II again. I'm getting back into that. I'm going to do in the next World War II, Chapter 2 video, and it is probably going to be specifically about the death counts during the war. The vast slaughter of humanity that occurred during World War II. And what does it mean? What do we see in those numbers? Okay. Sometimes I think people go past all of the most basic information on the war to all these little details and nuances that don't mean really anything, but the problems are exposed at a really high 15,000 foot level. If you just stand back and look at what happened in the war, where did things go on, how many people died and where, you start to see things that, oh my goodness, they don't talk about that kind of thing. So the next video called, I will call it probably Destruction of the Occult Nazis, Chapter 2. and it may be called like Death Count or something like that. But I also spent a ton of time essentially studying the start of World War II, the way that Poland essentially annexed part of Germany, and they started causing Germany to have to pay customs to send goods back and forth from Danzig, where it was a almost entirely German population in Danzig, but it was cut off from mainland Germany by Poland. And so Poland was not only persecuting Germans who lived in the country of Poland, but also in Danzig, which was not Poland. It was called East Prussia at the time. But there was such persecution against the Germans that, of course, Germany felt they had to do something about it, and that is the beginning of the war. It didn't have to be the beginning of the war, but because all of the Allies jumped in against Germany, that became the war. So, interesting stuff. I'm learning a lot. I'll just put it that way. It's really good stuff. All right. So that's enough about me, about what I've been learning. But let's go ahead and do our prayer real quick. So guys, if you have any prayer requests, please put them in the chat. And I will get those to our prayer group this week so that we can pray for them. And I would just like to say, I don't want to expose anything, but Stacia Logue is one here on the chat that we are praying heavily for in the group right now. And so I want to encourage you today, right now. She has a family member that's going through some very tough medical things. I just ask that you pray for her and her family. And I appreciate that. Oh, Stacia, you say I can share. Well, it's Stacia's father. And he had a severe heart attack actually last Sunday after our live stream in the afternoon. He had a severe heart attack. So they've been working on that all week long with the doctors. And it sounds like he's in a pretty good place now. They're starting to get him back to, I don't know the reports yet. I haven't gotten Stacia yet, and I didn't look at Facebook this morning, but I don't know if he's been able to communicate yet with everybody or not, but we are praying for that, and I want everyone here to pray for that if you can, while I bow my head and pray for this as well. So we just we care about you. We want the best for you, so please take care of yourself. I hope your mom's doing okay too. It's a tough situation. Yeah. All right, so if you don't mind, I'll just bow my head real quick, say a little prayer to get us started. Oh, Father in heaven, I thank you so much for this time. Thank you so much for these people, and that we can come together and we can love on each other even from all over the world. And I just thank you so much for that. Please hear our prayers. We pray right now for different people. Specifically, I'm thinking, Lord, of Stacia and her father and her mother. They're going through so much this week, and I just be there with them, surround them with angels, give them strength, give them guidance, help them to make good decisions. And Lord, please strengthen her father so he can come out of this. Give him cognitive ability. It's been a rough road. We don't know the total status, Lord, but please, Lord, bring him back into the family so they can love on him some more before too long. We just love you, and we thank you so much for your power and your ability to affect our lives. And we give this time this morning to you. I just pray, Lord, that you'll give me peace of mind, humility, the ability to speak on things and dig a little bit and share things. And as always, please guard my honesty, Lord. Help me to be fully honest and transparent. And give us all the ability to work together on this live stream, Lord, and just learn more. All we care about is being closer to you, understanding things that have been hidden from us. So please give us that. And we pray all these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. Thank you guys so much. Valley Knight, I like your comments there. Just thought I'd mention that. Appreciate you. Thank you for joining this morning. Naomi Anderson, it's good to see you. All right. Thank you so much, guys. All right, let's see. let's get these topics sorted around. I'll show you what we've got. It's a big list. Let's see here. Here's our list. It's so big you can't see the words. Okay, let's see here. Let's get serious. Let's see. And again, I'm going to prioritize people that I know are a little newer, at least to the having topics. So let me do this. Let me first put Adriano up top, and who was the other one? Flat Bob. You're brand new. I want to put yours towards the top. Make sure we get you guys in, and hopefully you can hear it too. Then okay, so let's see. There's a bunch of questions on prophecy, of course, so let's do that. Christina Hollis on why full preterists believe there's a new heaven and new earth. Okay, that's kind of related to Flat Bob's question, so it's getting to where we can kind of combine some. Then Rafa Sieber, you mentioned the powers of the Spirit. Goddess kind Pukwiji on Esau and Jacob. That's going to be a big topic. Esau and Jacob. That's going to take us a minute, a hot minute. Let me put that up here. And then Pam Crane's Grapes After the Jordan. Linda Connor, Walking by Faith and Not by Sight. You know, Linda, you haven't done one in a while, so I'm going to put you up here. Rafa, I'm sorry if I bump you a little bit, but we do yours a lot, and so I want to make sure everybody gets a good chance here. Ed Mack, you asked about the keys that were given to Peter. Okay. I'm just gonna go with this order. This is a crazy number of topics, but let's go with this today. So we'll start with Adriano, your topic, and let me get that on the topic list here. Every knee will bow. Universalism is what I'll call that. Every knee will bow. Is that universalism? Yeah. So let me hide that. Okay. To talk briefly about this. So let's go ahead. I'll just pull the Bible first. Let's look at that before we do anything, of course. So if we go up here and in the Bible, we search for every knee. I hope it's in there that way. Yes, Philippians 2:10. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see this. Let's get it bigger. If there is any consolation in Christ, any comfort of love, fellowship in the Spirit, any bowels and mercies, fulfill ye my joy, that you be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord. I thought it was towards the top. Let's see. Okay, it's down further. Okay. Well, I should have read down through because the context is a little important here. Let this mind be in you, which was in Christ Jesus, who was being in the form of God, or the form of theos, being deity. He thought it not. This is a good. Should I go into this verse? This verse is mangled in the English. I'm just going to tell you. This verse, Philippians 2:6, is totally mangled in the English. So, in the Greek, here we go. Who in the form of theos, meaning divinity or deity, existing. He was, so this is what it actually says. Who, meaning Christ, he was existing already in deity, did not think it was something to be grasped or held onto to be deity. Okay, so what it's saying is Christ was already deity before he came to earth, And he knew it was not something he was going to hold on to. He was going to instead assume the form of human, be wrapped in flesh, so to speak, to come to earth. This is what this verse says. It's very difficult in the English to understand that at all. It's not at all what the English says. I just wanted to point that out in case anyone is curious about that as they're going through this passage. So being deity himself, he did not hold on to that deity, but instead, in verse 7, of course, made himself of no reputation, and took the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. Being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even the death of the cross. Wherefore God has highly exalted him, and given him a name which is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. So the question is from Adriano, how does this relate to an idea that everybody is saved? Everyone is saved. So universalists, people that believe that everyone in the end, even wicked people like Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama, will be saved in the end, even though, or Bill Gates, people that mass genocide millions of people all over the earth, that even people like that will be saved in the end and go to heaven, even though they obviously don't deserve it. And they use sometimes this verse 10 of Philippians 2, to justify that position, that at the name of Jesus, every knee is going to bow. Yes, every knee will bow. The problem is that the people who make that argument, they equate the bowing of the knee with inheritance, with salvation. They equate the fact that every knee must bow before Jesus to meaning that everybody is given the inheritance of the saints, is given rest in heaven, is given all of the promises of salvation. It's not said here. It's not inferred here. Nothing here says anything about every person receiving the blessings of God, every person receiving, again, rest with God in heaven, receiving salvation, etc. None of that. So the universalist position taken from this verse, to me, is very out of context. It's just very haphazardly done. Now, I will tell you that as I have now been steeped in my study of the Great White Throne Judgment for the last month, because I really want to get that out. There's a ton of information. By the way, again, that information is going to challenge you. It's challenged me, okay? I'm just saying. But because I know that narrative of the Great White Throne Judgment now inside and out, I can tell you that verse 10 is very comparable to what I have read in multiple accounts of the Great White Throne Judgment. When all mankind, things in heaven, things in earth, things under the earth, is brought before God, and a judgment occurs. And at that point, Christ is brought out and crowned, and every knee bows in front of him. Good, evil, wicked, righteous, everyone will bow at the end. And I believe that's what this is really talking about. And again, if you don't have the context that I'm talking about, the understanding of all these different references all over both the Bible and many other writings to this Great White Throne Judgment and what occurs, then you may not make that connection between this verse and all of that. But it does seem to be there to me, that every knee bows, every tongue confesses to the glory of God the Father. Yes, that doesn't mean everyone's going to heaven. Trust me. Trust me. And when that video comes out, you'll understand why I'm saying this. Okay, when that video, you'll see it. You'll be like, oh my gosh. So anyway, what are you guys saying? Let's see. Adriano, this was your question, so I want to see. You say the Universalists also say God's love never fails from Psalm 136. God's love never fails. Okay, well, let's see Psalm 136 real quick. Yes, Adriano, I am talking about the Great White Throne Judgment. I I guess when I say, what did I say? Did I say the final judgment? But yeah, it's the same. It's the final judgment at the end. It's the consummation of this world and all of the good and evil and all the wicked and all the choices mankind has made. There's a consummation to that, okay? And accounting for that. Again, you got to kind of understand, man was never meant, humankind, as God created Adam, was not really meant to be in this world of tit for tat, good and evil, light and dark, so to speak. This world was not really what man was designed for. And so, because man got himself into this, Adam sinned, of course, with the temptation of the serpent, Satan. Because we're now in this, he's going to have to rectify it. I have a really hard time explaining this. I need to find the best words to explain this, but in many writings and many texts, it's like a gambit. This life is like a gambit. It's like a test. So if you are, if you realize that, you got to pass the test. You've got to do the things that show that you believe in the one who made this place, that you are still the creation that God wanted you to be, that he made Adam to be. And by having faith in God and throughout this life of materialism and essentially pain and suffering, that you can rise above that and live spiritually minded, knowing who God is, who his son Jesus Christ is, all these things, then you win the gambit, you win the test. And at the end, he consummates all this and he brings everyone up for the final judgment, dead, alive, everybody. And of course, there's more to come. There's more to come on that. I don't want to reveal all the stuff. There's just tons of information on it, though. So I just, anyway, I'll leave it right there for now. But big boy, I'm sorry to see you go. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for making me cry last week. I appreciate that too. Really. Just messing, man. Just messing. All right. Okay, let's see. Sorry, just trying to still catch up on the chat. Make sure we're there. Okay, Adriano, you mentioned Psalm 145:14, which says, "The Lord sustains all who fall and raises up all who are bowed down." Yeah, let's see. Psalms 145. What was the stinking 14? Why am I losing my mind? Okay. The Lord upholds all that fall and raises up all those that bow down. Thy kingdom is the everlasting kingdom. Thy dominion endures for all generations. Mm-hmm. They shall speak of thy glory, of thy kingdom, and talk of thy power, and make known to the sons of men his mighty acts. Yeah, the eyes of all wait upon thee, and thou givest them their meat in due season. Openest thine hand to satisfy the desire of everything living. The Lord is righteous in all his ways. The Lord is nigh to them that call upon him. He will fulfill the desire of them that fear him, hear their cry, and save them. The Lord preserveth all them that love him, but the wicked he will destroy. My mouth shall speak the praise of the Lord. Let all flesh bless his holy name forever and ever. Yeah. I just... To take a verse like Psalm 145:14 and then make it a defense for that all will be saved in their eternal destiny. I just think that that's such a stretch. Like, what? To me, it really feels like that in this verse that he's talking about all of those who are his children, really, that he will always uphold you if you fall. David, of course, his prayers were always about, my God helps me, he's my help in a time of trouble, etc., etc. So, there's actually, if you wanted to dig the other side of the coin, if universalists were honest, they would dig on, well, what does it say is going to happen to wicked people in the Bible? Then you're going to find tons and tons of verses that say that the wicked will be punished. The wicked will endure this. They'll do that. Who's going to do this to them? He's not going to uphold the wicked. The Lord will not uphold the wicked, and he will not raise up all those that are wicked. It never says that. So, to me, again, the universalist type position on that is just, it's a little naive. It's kind of like, well, let's ignore all the Bible and take the one verse and say that actually is proving our point, when it really doesn't. Who's the all that is being upheld? It's those that fall, and it's those that are bowed down. Bowed down means being humbled. Like, he will raise up the humble. Well, okay, that makes sense. That doesn't mean he's going to raise up the wicked. So again, it's like, I just think that the universalists are grasping at straws, really, when they pull these different verses from all over the Bible, and they're like, this one sounds good, and this one, see? And then, I don't know. I don't think it really gets you there, especially in light of all the different passages that are very specific and direct about the punishment of the wicked and the inheritance of the saints. Okay, it's very clear, actually, on those points. So, all right, with that, I think we'll leave that topic. Again, I'm going to have to move a little quick today. So we're going to move to Flat Bob, your question on the sins. God's saying he will not punish the father for the sins of the children, etc. Okay, so I'm going to first find that verse, because, let's see, punish and children, maybe. Okay. Oh, come on. Visit sins. Oh, what verse is it? Heaven's sakes, Flat Bob. I don't know what verse it is. Let me see if I can just search for it online. Bible, sins of the father on the children. Come on, internet, help me now. John 8:41, maybe? I don't know about that. Oh, here we go. Ezekiel 18:20, perhaps? Let's see if that gets it. Ezekiel 18:20. Yes, okay, let's do that. Let's put that as the topic. Sorry, I was just trying to get to, like, what is the topic of this? Sins of the father. Okay. And let's try to just exegete this passage a little and understand what's being talked about here. So I'll go to the full chapter view on Ezekiel 18, and it's specifically verse 20 that we're interested in. So that verse says, "The soul that sins, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him." Yes, okay. So, yeah, okay. In context, just a little bit. Just try and look up through this chapter and make sure. Ooh, usury is mentioned. Yikes. Jews better watch out. All right. If he begets a son that sees all his father's sins which he has done and considers and does not such like, that has eaten upon the mountains, neither lifted his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, has not defiled his neighbor's wife, or oppressed anyone, taking his hand from the... As for his father, because he cruelly oppressed, spoiled his brother by violence, and did that which is not good, lo, he will die in his iniquity. But does the son bear the iniquity of the father? And the answer is, of course, no. So the statement just at the end of this verse, the righteousness of the righteous will be upon that man, and the wickedness of the wicked man will be upon him. So it's apparent, it's obviously, of course, exactly what you do that matters. If you're a righteous man, then so is your lot. And if you're a wicked man, so is your lot. It doesn't come down to you from your father or your mother or any of your heritage. It's not, it's all about you, what you do with what God gives you. So that being said, let's jump back over to, you said, Flat Bob, you're talking about when David's son died. So let's go to that. Let me just search for Bathsheba. Bathsheba. Oops. Typed it wrong. Okay. 2 Samuel. Let's start in 2 Samuel 11. I don't know if, let's see, I don't want to dig too long on this, but David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him, and he lay with her, for she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house. And the woman conceived, and told David, and said, I am with child. Oops. And David sent to Joab, saying, send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David, and etc., etc. He deals with Uriah. He tries to get him killed. Okay, so yeah, he gets him killed in chapter 11, verse, what? I don't know, 20 or so. Oh, okay, verse 26, her husband died, okay. And then the morning was past, David sent and fetched her to his house. She became his wife and bare him a son. But the thing that David did displeased the Lord. Yes, I'm sure it did. Verse 1 of chapter 12, and the Lord sent Nathan to David. And he tells the story of the rich man, the poor man. He stole his little ewe lamb, which was Bathsheba. And David's anger was kindled greatly against Nathan. As the Lord liveth, he says, the man has done this thing shall surely die. And he shall restore the lamb fourfold because he did this thing, because he had no pity. And Nathan said to David, thou art the man. After I gave thee thy master's house, etc., etc., you have despised the commandment of the Lord and did evil in his sight. You killed Uriah the Hittite. Now therefore the sword will not depart from your house, because you have despised me and have taken the wife of Uriah. I just realized he was a Hittite. You know, that's another thing that was wrong. He obviously shouldn't have taken a Hittite wife, but anyway. Thus says the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against you out of your own house, and I will take your wives from before your eyes, and I give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in the sight of this sun. For you did it secretly, but I will do this before all Israel. Yikes. Howbeit, let's see. Nathan said to David also, the Lord has put away thy sin. Thou shalt not die. So he decides not to kill David, apparently, because David said, I have sinned against the Lord. So at least David recognized it. I mean, that's one thing. It's not great, but it's something. And then Nathan says, well, the Lord has put away thy sin. You will not die. However, because of this deed, you have given great occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme. The child also, see, that to me is key. It's crucial to realize that a lot of the things God did in the Old Testament was to show the nations who he was, show the non-Israelites through Israel who he was. And he's calling him out in this verse, in verse 14 of chapter 12. He's saying, you gave reason to the nations, the enemies of the Lord, to blaspheme against him. The exact opposite of what Israel was supposed to be doing. So I like that stuff when those connections happen. The child also that is born unto you will surely die. And Nathan departed into his house, and the Lord struck the child that Uriah's wife bare unto David. It was very sick. And David therefore besought God for the child, and fasted, and went in, and lay all night upon the earth. And the elders of his house arose to raise him, but he would not, and neither did he eat. And it came to pass on the 7th day that the child died. The 7th day, it's an important day. The 7th day. Oh my gosh. And the servants of David feared to tell him the child was dead. Yeah, I mean, as far as I see, Flat Bob, yeah, it does look like God definitely struck the child sick so that it would die. You know, this is one of those things where it's like, especially the atheists will get all up in our grill, and the Gnostics, they'll be like, look, see, God is evil. He killed a baby. But honestly, I'm going to go back to what I think it is that Red Raven said earlier. I think she posted this. I think it was you, Red Raven. Let's see. Red Raven. I don't know. Let's see. But I think it was what you said, or whoever it was. I think it was Red Raven. Said that, you know, God can take that child straight to heaven. So to God, is it wicked for God to have this kind of thing happen? You know, you kind of want to wonder too, like if he let the child live, then how would David have justified that to the people of Israel? I mean, maybe God was also realizing that this bastard child of David's was going to be a smear on Israel forever, for as long as he was alive. So, you know, those kinds of things, I don't know how to give a good answer other than, now, in relationship to what we read in Ezekiel about the sins of a child are not, or the sins of a parent are not given or accounted to the child. I don't think that the sins were accounted to this child. The child was sinless. He didn't do anything. So God took him straight to heaven. So there was no accounting for his sins on the child. You know, the child didn't bear the sins of his father. The child wasn't responsible for the sins of his father in any way. And that's really what the other passage is about. Number one, is a child responsible for their parents' sins? No. And then number two, do the sins of the father follow the child into eternity, into the afterlife? And the answer is no. So in both counts, this does not relate to that passage in Ezekiel. So I hope, Flat Bob, that maybe that answers your question. It's not nice to think about that, that this child did die because of the sin that was going on. But apparently the Lord felt like that was the right thing to do, the best thing. And the baby was in the hands of the Lord seconds after he passed anyway. So, I mean, I do agree with that thought by Red Raven and those other guys. So ain't buying it. I like what you said. You said we're not to celebrate coming here, but leaving here. It's a good thing when we leave here, but we are not to bring that about ourselves. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of a good way to think about it. I mean, yeah, I mean, we should kind of be excited about getting to go to heaven at the end of this life. You know, that to me is a great, wonderful thing. And like you said, we don't want to bring that about because, why is the because? Why do we not want to bring about our own death? Well, really, it's because we can do good here and we have a purpose here by God, given by God. So we can reach out and we can touch other people's lives, and we can do so many good things for people, and really that's the only discernible purpose that we have in this life, is to do good and be the kingdom in this life, right? What else is there? What else is there if we don't do good to each other? Then yeah, your life doesn't mean much. Your life doesn't mean much. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, just thoughts there. Good morning, 5022 Freedom. Good to have you. All right. Well, I think we'll move forward then. All right. Thank you guys for these good topics. Let's see, what's next? Christina Hollis asks about, we're going to start getting into some prophecy here. And let's see, should I just move all the prophecy up to the top here and we'll do all the prophecy together? So let's do this. Because Christina Hollis asked about the new heaven and new earth. Let me just do that as the topic. New heaven and new earth. All right. Let's see here. I don't think I'll share for this. Now, I'll be able to say a lot of things. We could pull up a bunch of references on this, but I don't want to do that necessarily. So, Christina, your question was, can you please explain why full preterists believe that this is the new heaven and new earth, when that is not really our experience in this life? Yeah. So here is what happens, and here is why this happens in a person's mind. What happens first is that people who become full preterists, they learn about 70 AD. Okay, first. So I'm taking you into the psyche of the human mind, okay? They learn about 70 AD, and they're amazed, just as I was, blown away. Wow, there's so many amazing things that happen. Miraculous. It's miraculous. God definitely judged Israel, and it was a fulfillment of prophecy, many prophecies. They see that, and they're all on board with that. And then they start hearing full preterists say, well, everything was completed in 70 AD. Everything. All prophecies that were ever given, wrapped up with a bow in 70 AD. So they're thinking, wow, okay, well then that's interesting. But when they first hear that, they don't then test everything in their heads against it. Okay, so be aware, when people first hear that, usually they're just like, that's interesting thought. I never thought of that. Okay, now they're thinking about that. Well, could everything have been done in 70 AD? Then they come to the passage in the Bible, specifically Revelation chapter 21, verse 1, that says, then there was a new heaven and a new earth, and the old one was done away with. They come to that verse and they're like, well, that doesn't square with everything happening in 70 AD. So they start coming up with things that they could explain to make that happen in 70 AD in their head. They start saying, well, maybe it wasn't literal. Maybe it was figurative, some kind of symbolic reference. And then, of course, many full preterist teachers teach that. They say, yes, I think it was a symbolic reference, and that's how we can explain that it all happened in 70 AD. And then those people, the same one that's probing this and thinking about it, they run across some teacher somewhere that will say, did you know that Josephus taught that heaven and earth represent the temple to the Jews? That the words heaven and earth to the Jews, this is how they say it. The Jews would have understood that heaven and earth meant the old covenant system. That's what the full preterists say. There's a problem with that statement. Now, maybe I will bring up, let's see, Josephus. Let me see if I can find that statement in Josephus real quick. I know I've got it. New heavens and earth. Yes. Let's see. Come on. Oh, where is it? Okay, hold on. Sorry, guys. I want to read the statement to you. It's important. Okay, I think it's in Josephus' Book of Antiquities of the Jews. Antiquities of the Jews, Book 3. Okay, yeah, here it is. Okay. Let me share that on the screen. I'm sorry, it took me a second. I just want to be real transparent with you guys, okay? So, okay. So in Book 3 of Antiquities of the Jews, Section 4, Chapter 6, Section 4, okay? Antiquities 3.6.4. As for the inside of the temple, Moses parted its length into 3 partitions. At the distance of 10 cubits from the secret end, Moses placed 4 pillars, the workmanship of which blah, blah, blah. Now the room with those pillars is the most holy place, but the rest of the room was the tabernacle, which was open for the priests. However, this proportion of the measures of the tabernacle proved to be an imitation of the system of the world. For that third part thereof, which was within the 4 pillars, to which the priests were not admitted, the Holy of Holies, is, as it were, a heaven particular to God, but the space of 20 cubits, etc., etc. Okay, that's the passage. That's the statements, okay? Now, if you are aware of the book of Hebrews, it literally echoes this exact thing in the Bible, New Testament, book of Hebrews. It says that Moses was given the patterns of things above by which to create the temple and the implements, the Ark of the Covenant, etc. It was all based on patterns given to him by God of things in heaven. So here is the kicker on this. So of course the full preterists latch onto that and they say, look, heaven and earth is the temple. And so whenever we see heaven and earth in the prophecies, it represents the temple and the old covenant. Here's the kicker. Here's the kicker with that. Josephus says, and Hebrews says, and of course, when Moses receives the instructions for the temple, God says that the temple is to be a pattern or a representation of heaven, okay? The temple is a representation of heaven. So does that mean that whenever we see heaven, it's a representation of the temple? No. And that is absolutely backwards and corrupt logic and reasoning. That's like saying, as an artist, I painted this picture of, I don't know, that building over there. I painted this picture of that building. Then that's the same thing as saying, well, that picture is the building. Every time you see that picture, it is the building. No, the picture is a representation of the building, just as the temple was a representation of things in heaven. That does not give us, in the case of my picture, the ability to say, every time I talk about that picture, I'm actually talking about the building I painted. No, you can't do that. That's not even like second grade logic, okay? Their temple was built to pattern things in heaven because of so many reasons. The law represented things in their future. God did everything with Israel to point to heaven and Christ and the real things, not the fake things on earth, the real things in heaven. And so the hermeneutic of taking the symbol and reinterpreting everything that's real against the symbol is backwards and incorrect. Most people just don't get it because it's semantics, and we wrap everything up in our brains and we just mush it all together, and we don't think real hard sometimes. But that's the reality, is that you cannot then take that and say, well, every time they said heaven and earth, it meant the temple. No, that's wrong, and it's not honest. It's not honest. And so, no, the new heavens and new earth does not refer, never has it referred to the temple or the old covenant. Never. And again, the video I'm going to bring out on the Great White Throne Judgment is going to show you that throughout history, they always knew the new heaven and new earth always was a remaking of creation, okay? Always. And in fact, that's another test you can do. Can you go back in history and show me anyone in Christianity that said that the new heaven and new earth was not a recreation of the earth? You're going to have almost an impossible time finding that anywhere ever, if not completely impossible. I don't think it exists. I know Origen, he had some weird views, but I don't think it included the new heaven and new earth, if I'm not mistaken. I need to probably re-up my knowledge of Origen, although I hate his writing. I need to do it at some point. But he was one of the outliers from all the rest of church history and Christianity. I'm not saying he agreed with this view of the full preterist, but I'm just saying he's one that I would suspect might have some divergent views that might fall in line with this kind of thinking. That so much of the prophecies were just this allegorical wisp of nonsense that meant something totally different than they were saying. So I just want you to be aware that this argument they always make, they use Josephus, they use a couple other things, it's not right. It's not correct. It's not logical and doesn't stand up to scrutiny. So the new heavens and new earth were always understood the way that a plain reading of that text would have always been understood, even by the earliest Christians. And I'm going to show that in my upcoming Great White Throne Judgment video. Very easily. I'll very easily show it to you. So I hope that's helpful. What was the question? What was the question? It was Christina Hollis's. Can I explain why the full preterists believe that the new heaven, new earth is not that? Yeah, I think I explained that. And you mentioned, Christina, because we don't experience that in this life. You're right, we don't experience that in this life. So the whole idea that we have no more tears in the eye, and that even an old man will be considered young and babies won't die and all this other stuff, none of that happens. None of it. So yeah, what does that mean? Then you, of course, when you come to those passages and you're saying to yourself, it must have happened. It had to happen as a full preterist. 70 AD was the end. Everything had to happen. So how do I explain that? Then you have to force your mind into, well, it's symbolic. It must mean something other than what it's saying. It must be secret, veiled, hidden knowledge. I don't mean to be throwing Gnostic terms around. I don't mean that. But I will say there's some non-full preterists who accuse full preterists of being Gnostic in their beliefs. I did find that out as I was studying this week, that some do accuse. In fact, I think it was in that Sam Frost video where that was mentioned. I'm not sure I totally agree with it, but I'm just saying it's mentioned. So interesting. But no, I think you're right, Christina. Our experience does not portray what is written in the Bible about the new heaven and the new earth. It just doesn't. And I would say too, though, that some of those passages about no more tears in the eye, etc., they also have to do with heaven, not to do with necessarily the new heaven and new earth. So that there's so much confusion. There's so much confusion with people over which prophecies connect to which things in eschatology. some people just combine things that are not supposed to be combined. So again, there's another body of research, and I have it in my head, and I want to do it. It's going through every prophet in the Old Testament and really mapping out exactly what events are being prophesied and how it connects to everything. So then essentially creating a map of prophecy so that you can know whenever you're reading a certain piece of prophecy that what it's talking about, it help you relate it to that thing. Now that actually is something I do want to bake into my app at some point. That's what I've been thinking about, is I would love to put in the app, when you're reading a book of prophecy, what is the time period or events that are being referenced in that prophecy so that you can see it clearly and connect it with other books and writings that are obviously talking about the exact same thing. So anyway, probably a lot of discussion you guys are having. Yeah, Valley Knight, I agree with all that you're saying there on the beast and false prophet, lake of fire, etc. Yep, that makes total sense to me. You say that would be very helpful, Bible Scribe, Julia, and yeah, I do want to do that. I keep thinking about it, but again, you saw what I was studying this week so much, and then things get pushed around, and okay, I think we'll have to just move forward, guys. Let's see. Pepper LaRae Van Camp, you came to the conclusion we are past the millennium and in the little season. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that, definitely. I don't agree with all the Tartaria stuff necessarily. But yeah, I'm with you on the same page as far as where we sit in prophecy. I definitely agree with that. But history is definitely very veiled. Pepper, yeah, I would encourage you, maybe if you haven't seen the Cataclysm of Rome series that I did, that does clear up a little bit of history stuff. I think it helps a little bit to kind of see past some of that stuff. Anyway, all right. Yeah, I ain't buying it. I think we could all agree the whole world is deceived. Yeah, there's a lot of deception. All right. I think I'll just keep going. Oh, you did watch the series, Pepper. Okay, great. Well, you have that background, and that's helpful. It should be. But yeah, okay. Appreciate that. All right. Moving forward. We haven't gotten very far, guys. I'm afraid. I'm very afraid of the time. All right. Kelsey, you asked, what does flight mean in Matthew 24:20? So let me put that on the screen. Flight in Matt 24:20. Okay, let's open that. Matthew 24:20. Matthew 24:20, but pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. All right, so in context, let's just look at what's right around that verse. So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop come not down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return to take his clothes. And woe to them that are with child and give suck in those days. But pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as not from the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. Yeah. All right. So the flight here, obviously to me, Kelsey, is referring back to this verse 16 where it says, let those which are in Judea flee into the mountains. Okay, so that's the flight. Flee, flight, it's a conjugation of the same word, and it's referring to that. So he's telling the people, when they see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, And we can cross-reference this verse against Luke 21. Let's do that real quick. Luke 21. Yeah, with Luke 21:20. And when you should see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know the desolation thereof is nigh. And let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. All right, so I gotta cross-reference this. What am I thinking? Let's see. Let me add my cross-reference here so this is always connected. Luke. Okay, now that's connected. I don't know why I didn't have that there. Oh, I did it on the wrong verse. No, doggone it. Did it on the wrong verse. Let's do it on the right verse, and I'll have to fix that later. Luke 21:21. The other one should have been Luke 21:20. So I'll add that. Luke 21:20. All right, I got it right. I'll have to fix the other one later. Okay. Anyway, so the reason I mentioned the cross-reference is because in verse 20 and 21 of Luke 21, it says, when you see the Jerusalem compassed with armies, that's the desolation. The desolation is nigh. That's the desolation of Daniel. So Daniel the prophet speaks of the holy places being desolate and abominations being there. That's the armies coming into Jerusalem and then setting the standards of Rome inside the temple. So then flee into the mountains when you see the armies coming around the city. Flee into the mountains. So let your flight be not in the winter or on the Sabbath day. Just pray that your flight is not on those. It's essentially just saying it's going to be tough. So as soon as you see it, get out. And let's hope that you're not giving, suck. Like if it's woe to those that are with child, because it'll be hard for them to get out, right? So that seems to be the sense in which this is said in Matthew 24:20. Does that help, Kelsey? I hope so. All right. I think that I answered that. I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Jimmy Davidson, your question on Enoch chapter 44 and the belief that the full preterist field, the new heavens and new earth is symbolic. Oh, we're back on the new heavens, new earth. Why didn't I do those together? Somehow I got them out of order. Let me hit that real quick. I'll go back to that topic and then let's open up Enoch 44 real quick. Jimmy Davidson. Sorry to jump around. I missed that. Somehow I put Kelsey's right in between Christina and Jimmy's on the new heavens and new earth. So let me do this. I'm going to go back to the beginning. Book of Enoch. Book of Enoch 44. Boop. Sometimes my chapter numbers don't match up perfectly, Jimmy Davidson, with what others have online. So let's see here. Maybe I'll go to Sacred Texts, because that's an awesome site. Okay. So chapter 44, if I can get my Roman numerals, XLIV. Yeah, this is what is there. That's not what I wanted to see. Let me just search the book of Enoch then for New Heaven. Maybe that'll work. Book of Enoch, New Heaven, maybe. One result, okay. Oh, it was in chapter 45, okay. Chapter, oh no, 94, okay. Well, let me see if this is it. This is probably it. After this, in the 10th week and the 7th part, there shall be great eternal judgment, in which he will execute vengeance amongst the angels. And the first heaven shall depart and pass away, and a new heaven shall appear, and all the powers of the heavens shall give sevenfold light. After that will be many weeks without number forever. Is that the passage you were talking about, Jimmy? Because I mean, that does speak to the new heaven. as far as new earth, let's see. I know that in this prophecy, the world here in one recension of this text says that the world would be written down for destruction, the earth. So again, this does lend credence to the fact that these were literal prophecies of the destruction and revisiting, revamping of the earth, and the destruction and revamping of heaven at the end, when he has to judge all the angels, all humanity, all everything. Okay, again, that I actually should add this to my notes, which I'm going to do right now because I hadn't really added Enoch to this topic in my notes. Let's see. I'll just put it in here. I don't know, anywhere. Book of Enoch. That'll make that video even longer. It's probably going to be an hour and a half. It's going to be ridiculous. All right, anyway. All right. Well, I think that's it. I'll move forward since I kind of was bouncing back to that. But I do think that Jimmy Davidson, this is a very literal prophecy about the new heaven and new earth. I think it is. I don't know any other way to take it. It doesn't say it's symbolic there, does it? Is there any writing that says the new heaven and new earth is symbolic for something? There's no writing anywhere that does that. So why do we do that? Again, it's a mental gymnastic to get around 70 AD. Because if you believe everything happened in 70 AD, you've got to fit it in somehow. And so a huge swath of stuff in Revelation must become symbolic for it to work. Period. All right. Let's jump back now to our topic list and what is next. Okay. Deborah Hicks, your question, how do I think Satan gathers the nations to surround the camp of the saints? Who are the saints? Let's see. Who are the camp of the saints? Put it that way. I won't bring anything up for this. It's a very difficult passage, by the way, Deborah Hicks. Very difficult. Probably one of the hardest ones. Like, maybe that's why you're asking the question, because there's almost no one that can really answer this truthfully, I believe. So the camp of the saints, the word camp in the Greek, by the way, it does mean like a camp, like an outpost for a military, just an outpost. It's not even, it doesn't really mean city. You would think that because the word city is used all throughout the book of Revelation, that if it meant the city of Jerusalem, it might be called the city of the saints or the great city or something like that. But that's not used. Instead, it's using this word like encampment of the saints. So encampment of the Hagia or holy ones. Okay, encampment of the holy ones. What does that mean? It's a very difficult read because it's apparent. It's, for one thing, it's out in the future from when John receives it. It's way out in his future. God's just giving in Revelation 20 this shotgun blast of all these things in the future that will lead to the destruction of Satan, which of course was very pertinent to the people of his time period. That's why he's doing this. So he's like, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. Don't worry, in the end, Satan is defeated. He's chained for 1,000 years. He gets out, he does a little crap, and then he's judged and he's put in the lake of fire forever. So this was an encouragement to those people and is why it's included in the book, even though it's not talking about 70 AD per se. But the encampment of the holy ones is a difficult translation. It's a difficult thing to understand because it's just an obscure kind of reference. In my video, Gog and Magog, I, of course, postulated, as most of you know, that the Gog and Magog that is referenced in the Battle of Gog and Magog is most likely the Khazarian Empire, what we call the Khazarians, or possibly also the Ashkenazi Empire. So if that's true, and if from all corners of the earth an army comes again, the encampment or encampments possibly of the saints. You know, I have speculated, this is total speculation, opinion, this is not written anywhere, because it's not written anywhere, okay? There's nothing really that talks more about this that I've found so far. But I have speculated that possibly that what we're seeing in the world right now, we've got this migration happening to all the Western countries that's being foisted on us by the Khazarians. And it's possible that this reference is of course a very vague reference to that the mobs of people all over the world that they have fomented from all different nations, all sorts of nations, coming against God's holy people everywhere they are encamped, all over the earth. Instead of necessarily a reference to specifically Jerusalem or something like that. It's possible. It also could be speculative again, very speculative, just thinking out loud. It also could be that it is Jerusalem and that this current war in the Middle East right now will still culminate in Jerusalem because, of course, you know that if Israel ever took over the Temple Mount, that there would be all-out war. And that, again, Israel being the representation in the modern time of the Khazarians, okay? The Khazarians, the Gogs and Magogs, Gog and Magogians, okay? So anyway, just so you see where my head goes with that, I'm just telling you my loose opinions on the matter. I don't know for sure. It's a very difficult passage. Anyone that tells you they know for sure is probably lying. I'm just telling you. So I'll leave it at that, I guess. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Okay, Puckwidgey, you lean towards North Pole. Yeah, a lot of people that feel that the North Pole is a representative of God's throne somehow, or that his throne is above the North Pole, perhaps at the firmament with the northern lights surrounding it. If that's true, then perhaps you're right somehow. I don't know. It's an interesting thought too. Stacia, if you want a coffee cup like this, you need to get in contact with me and I will find a way to get you one. I have a couple, and I would love for you to have one. I really would. And if I do give you one, if I get the chance, I will. I'll tell you where I got it, which is even cooler. So yeah. All right. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's see. We're running close on time. I mean, usually I try to stop around this time, but lately that's been really hard. So let me look at the remaining stuff. We've got Esau and Jacob. Oh my gosh, that's a huge topic. Okay, God is kind and Puckwidgey, you guys are regulars. So you know what I'm going to do with this topic of Esau and Jacob? Don't be mad at me. Don't be mad, okay? But I think I'm going to put that off. It's a bigger topic for one, and I'm going to put that off, and we will do it, okay? We will do it, just not today, okay? I think that is the best idea. Then I can get through the rest mostly, and we will get to that next time. Perhaps I'll put a little study behind that, and we'll have a little better discussion about it, okay? Because I would kind of like to look into that one a little further before I talk about it, you know, heavily. Okay, so let's do this. I'll go on to Pam Crane's question. Big grapes over the Jordan. Numbers 13. 23 to 33. Okay. That's my title for this segment. Big grapes over the Jordan. Pam Crane asked this. Well, let's see. How did she say it? Okay. Well, I can't get back to Pam Crane's comment, but it really was. She asked about why were the grapes so big when the Israelites went across the Jordan and came back from Canaanite lands with fruits and stuff to show the fatness of the land, the produce of the land, why were the grapes so big? Is what she asked me. So let's go to Numbers 13 real quick and look at this. I hadn't really, I don't think, paid much attention to this in the past, just to be honest. So Numbers 13. So let me share that on the screen. I'm not sharing. Okay. Verse 23. Okay. So in verse 17, Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan and said, go southward into the mountains, see the land and what it is and who dwells there and whether they're strong or weak or few or many, and whether the land is good or bad and what cities there may be that they dwell in, or whether they're in tents or in strongholds. Of course, they're scoping it out because God has commanded them to go in and do battle with these people, right? So they have to scope it out. It's the promised land, essentially. And what the land is, whether it's fat or lean, whether there's wood or not, and be of good courage and bring the fruit of the land. Now was the time for the first ripe grapes. So they wanted to bring some of that back with them to show what was there, so they would know, I guess, and be excited about it. So they went up and searched the land for the wilderness of Zin to Rehob, as men come to Hamath. And they ascended by the south and came to Hebron, where Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, and the children of Anak were. The children of Anak were giants. Just to give context there. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. Okay. They came to the brook of Eshcol, took down a branch with one cluster of grapes, and they bare it between two upon a staff, and they brought pomegranates and figs. And the place was called brook Eshcol, because the cluster of grapes were the children, which the children of Israel cut down from thence. And they returned from searching for the land after 40 days. And they went, that's awesome, 40 days. That's, man. You start seeing the numbers and realizing what they mean, and it starts to make everything make sense. But anyway, again, 40 is a number for waiting or testing before something happens. Always 40 years in the wilderness, 40 days of searching in the land of Canaan, 40 years between Christ's ascension and 70 AD. Just amazing. And they went and came to Moses and Aaron to tell the congregation of Israel, the children of unto the wilderness of Paran, Kadesh, and brought back word, and they showed them the fruit of the land. And they say, surely it flowed with milk and honey. This is the fruit of it. And surely the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, the Hittites, and the children of Anak. And I don't see anything more about the grapes, but in verse 33 it says, there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come with the giants, or which come of the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. So these giants were very large, apparently. To use the word grasshoppers seems extreme, and that may have actually been the truth. It may have been an extreme size difference, especially when we look in the book of Enoch and it talks about the size of the giants being like 300 ells tall and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, very interesting. Now, I will say this, Pam, is it Pam that asked? Yeah. No, it's Deborah Hicks. No, it's not. I'm sorry, it's Pam Crane. You asked about the grapes being big, but so far I didn't see it talk about the grapes being giant at this point. Okay, did it say that? Because I haven't seen that yet. Now, I will say this. I want to look into this word. It says the place was called the brook Eshcol because of the cluster of grapes which the children of Israel cut down from there. So that makes me wonder, what does this word Eshcol mean? Because they used that as the name of the brook, and it says it's because of the cluster of grapes. So let me just look that up in the Hebrew really quick and see what that might mean. It says, place that was called Nahal, the valley of Eshcol. So what is this Eshcol word? See, it's word origin says it's from the same as Eshcol, even though it just says this definition is an Amorite. So what is Eshcol? A cluster. See, Eshcol is just a cluster. So they called the river or the brook where they got this cluster of grapes, they called it cluster. Okay, essentially, they just named the brook after the grapes. So at this point, I still don't have any information that says the grapes were big in some regard, that they were bigger than normal, or anything other than just really luscious grapes. No, it was the first harvest essentially of the season. They said the season was everything was ripe. So Pam Crane, you say you may have been influenced as a child in this teaching. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see, Pam, it saying that the produce of the land was big. It does say the people were big. the Enochites were very large. It says they cut down a branch and they bore it upon a staff. But this is actually a normal way of carrying grapes, if I'm not mistaken. I think I've seen it other places where two people would just put a rod across their shoulders and they would hang the grapes on the rod. Of course, that keeps them fresh and good instead of smashing them in a bag or something. So especially if they got a bigger branch, that would have been a really good way to carry the grapes. So I believe they carried it with two men with a rod between their shoulders, just walking with it, and the grapes hanging on the rod in between. So again, I just don't get an indication that the grapes were anything different than what we would understand as a grape. Perhaps they were bigger, but it doesn't really talk about it. So I guess that's all I can say about it. Yeah, ain't buying it. You got it. That's exactly what... Oh, you say, but the pictures you've seen in old books show giant grapes. Yeah, that's weird. That's really weird. I don't know. Let's see if the internet knows anything about it. The internet doesn't know much about giant grapes, so it's not helping me too much. Spies bring back giant fruit. Let's see, this says something. Is this what we're talking about, this picture? Giant fruits? What does this come from? Is this just Bible pictures? Numbers 13:23. Spies bring back giant fruit, grapes, size of grapefruit. Let's do this. Let's go to the Septuagint just in case. Let's just see what Numbers 13 says in the Septuagint. No, I don't want any of that garbage. Numbers. Numbers 13:23. Okay, so Numbers 23 says, and they went up by the wilderness, departed for as far as Hebron, and there blah blah blah. Okay, that's not. And they came to the valley of the cluster, Eshcol, and surveyed it, and cut down a bough and brought a cluster of grapes upon it, and bore it on staves and of the pomegranates and figs. Okay, it didn't say they were giant. I don't know. I don't see anything additional on this. I don't see anything about giant grapes. But that doesn't mean they weren't. I just don't see anything about them being anything other than normal grapes, but just very luscious, good grapes, which makes me kind of hungry right now. Yeah, it's getting to be about that time where I am. All right. You're welcome, Miss Pam Crane. I wish I could have done more and found more, but that's okay. Sometimes that's how it goes. All right. Let me see, guys, if there's one more I can get before we're done. I may do Linda Connors. She's next on my list. And then I'll have to miss a couple here. Linda Connor, you mentioned this, walking by faith and not by sight. And I just think I'll talk about this. Yeah. So you guys can definitely talk about this topic in the chat, say things, mention what you think about this. But walking by faith versus sight. Now, just let's define faith as the Bible defines faith, okay? That's important because what most people think when they say, well, you need to walk by faith and not by sight. They think that means blindly, without sight, just believe things, just believe whatever, But that's not really the way that faith is described in the Bible. So let me do this. I do want to pull the verse on faith from Hebrews. Hebrews 11, I think? Yes. Good. I do know my Bible. All right. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And it clarifies in verse 3. But first stop at verse 1. The substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things that are not seen. What are the things not seen? Well, Jesus, right now at least, God. They're invisible to us. They're spiritual. Heaven is spiritual. Angels are spiritual. The whole spiritual realm is not seen. So when we think of faith, oftentimes we think of just like believing in imaginary things or just believing things at random without any evidence at all. But faith is the evidence of the things you can't see, the things we talk about every week on this live stream, the things of God in heaven, the things of Christ, his kingdom. We don't see it. It will not come visibly as Christ told us, but we know it's true. We've experienced it. The evidence of things not seen. So faith is in something real, something literal, just not something you can see. So don't ever let anyone think that when you say, I'm walking by faith, that you're walking blindly. Okay, that's not really the truth. But what we're really doing is the things we know of from God that are invisible. We are living according to those things. What are we doing? We're walking according to the Spirit. That's the invisible things. It even clarifies in verse 3, if we read through this passage, through faith we understand the worlds were framed by the word of God, the logos. Okay, now you're understanding what does our faith lie in. And I think this word worlds is cosmos, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, it's aeonos. It's the aeons. It's the ages of earth. It's not even the world. It's the aeons. So the ages of earth were framed by the logos. Do you see what we're talking about in this passage? What is our faith in? It's that Jesus Christ, because of God's commands to him, he created the earth. He framed the ages of the earth. He constructed it all. And just that right there, by the way, not to harp on full preterism, but that's a debunking of full preterism, that there are ages of earth. And essentially that implies that there's a beginning and an end. So the things which are seen are not made of things that appear. The things that we see are made of spiritual things. So we live by the spiritual things. That's what faith is all about. We know they exist. We know that Christ, with the power of God, framed the world and framed the ages of earth. All the invisible things created essentially what is physical. All the physical is born out of spirit. That's the only way it could have come into being, because God is spirit. So just be aware that when we say faith, we say, I live by faith, you're really saying you live by the Spirit. You live in the Spirit. You're living according to spiritual things that we know from God and from Christ and about heaven. You're not living according to the flesh. You're not living for the next cup of coffee. You're not living for, material gain. That stuff is meaningless and useless to us as Christians. Really. I mean, it's not useless, I should say. Some material gain is useful for the kingdom. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. I'm just saying the things we are most concerned with as Christians should be about the effect we have in this life on spiritual things. And so when we say we live by faith, you got to realize that there's so much behind that. It's not just a hollow statement of blind obeisance to God. We know of these things. We are aware of the reality of who God is and heaven and his Christ, his son Jesus. We are aware of all these things and we live according to it. That's what walking by faith is. It's not walking blindly. It's actually walking with more of a sense of the reality of who we are than any non-Christian has. So I hope that helps in that discussion. West Wind, you say, people belittle praying for our country, our leaders, and I am praying against evil. Well, what hope do they have if they don't believe in faith and prayer? Absolutely. Faith and prayer. I mean, prayer is part of that. We're praying to an invisible God. That is the evidence of things not seen, because we pray to someone who you can't see. That's faith. That's what Hebrews 11:1 is talking about. It's very simple once you get it. You get it. Oh, our faith is believing in the things we can't see. That's all. Oh, you're welcome, Linda, for sure. Stacia, you say you hate when Christians call earthly treasures blessings. You are blessed by faith and perfecting of the fruits of the Spirit. It's very well said, Stacia. Very well. I really appreciate you. I'm so glad you were here with us this morning. Oh man, I'm going to start crying again. I don't want to do that. Not today, Satan. Not going to cry on the live stream. It's not going to happen. All right. Well, I think that's about it today, guys. Puckwoodgy, you say, good point, but you think the blessings can also be of this world. Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying before. I don't know if it's hard to say. Sometimes I think God can bless us materially. But again, it's kind of like, what use is that to the Christian? The only use for material blessings for a Christian is to really help other people with them. Do his work with those blessings. It's just like the parable of the talents. Maybe God did give you 10 talents, but then what are you going to do with it? Because if you can it and sit on the can, then you're not getting anything done for anybody, let alone God and his kingdom. So we do have to be careful about the whole physical blessings thing. Perhaps some blessings, material blessings, are from God, and they're always for a purpose, for his kingdom, I think. Stacia, you say no crying. I haven't. Your dad is not in a losing situation. He will either come home or go home. Faith and trust is all I got. Oh, that's awesome, Stacia. He's brought you through a lot. God has. I appreciate that steadfastness you've got. I appreciate that. All right. All right, guys. Let's wrap it up. It's been a great day. Let me put the thank you out there to you guys. I really appreciate each and every one of you. It's been a blessing this morning for me, for sure. I just love getting to talk about these things. I guess to me that's a blessing. I get to talk about this stuff to you guys, and you're just so graceful to let me do it. But yeah, it's a real blessing. I've really enjoyed this morning. take care of yourselves this week. And please, if you're interested in being on the prayer group, which we're doing, I think, a really good thing there, and we just pray, that's the whole focus. If you're interested in that, go ahead and get on Facebook and ask to be a part of that group, and I'll let you in and start praying for people. I appreciate you guys. Take care this week. And I do believe I'll get a video out this week. Probably start with the World War II video on the death counts. So be looking for that. And then shortly after that is going to be the Great White Throne Judgment video. That one's going to be a long one, but I'll try to cut it down to a manageable time frame and get that one out soon too. I appreciate all you guys. Take care. Bye.